Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Light the W podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mahal. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, all of that fantastic jazz. If it's your first time joining, make sure you follow on social media at Light the W pod on all of that. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we're active on all of those. So, without further ado, let's sound the horn and get into this episode.
The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit. Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and mustard grandma. It is grand salami time.
And we send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Brendan Donovan is a Seattle Mariner, according to Jeff Passan. Mariners have just swung a 3-way trade involving the St. Louis Cardinals and their favorite trade partner, the Tampa Bay Rays, in order to bring in their guy. The guy they've been looking to all this offseason, the guy they've been looking to a lot of last offseason even. The two teams, the Cardinals, the Mariners, have been talking for multiple years, but they've never been able to match up on a deal. And now it seems as though they have. We don't know what the return is. We don't know who all Seattle's getting. We know that it's close. Katie Woo, John Heyman, multiple Mariners people, John Morosi. I'm just scrolling through Twitter here. Jeff Passan, of course, like I said. Brendan Donovan is about to be a Seattle Mariner. And as you can tell, I am more than excited. And what a way to kick off Super Bowl week here. You can see I got my Seahawks Conference Championship hat on. I just got this in the mail. But it's Mariners time right now. And I got to say, over the past 3-4 days, I've been getting more and more excited about the prospect of baseball being around the corner and about the Mariners. And while other people have been frustrated with not getting Geno, I have been more and more excited by the day about Mariners baseball. Spring training is right around the corner. And the guy I've been wanting all along, Brendan Donovan, is a Mariner. And I'm just still getting set up here because this was about 4 or 5 minutes ago. I want to say that this got tweeted out by Jeff Passan. I had just gotten back from first morning of second semester class. This was actually 15 minutes ago. And I was just sort of getting collected all my thoughts through. But here we are. We're recording, texting multiple people about it. And it's just so exciting, I gotta say. And the Tampa Bay Rays being involved. I want to start there. The Tampa Bay Rays being involved is really, really interesting. And I'll get into Brendan Donovan as a player in a second. And if you want to listen to more, I did a full episode on Brendan Donovan earlier in the offseason. I'll go and find what episode that actually was, because I'm not sure exactly which episode it was. It was quite early in the offseason. It was called the Brendan Donovan episode, because this has been the guy I've wanted. You can go listen to episode 96 if you want that. That was before the rebrand, so that was still the On the Diamond and Into the Deep podcast. But we're now the Light the W podcast. This is episode 116, if you're just joining us, or if you didn't hear it earlier. But Brendan Donovan, the Seattle Mariners, is the guy that I've been talking about nonstop, it feels like. And it's almost been a joke between me and some listeners and friends of mine, because he's like been a name that is talked about so much. And it's interesting to see another team get involved here, because I wonder if there's a bullpen arm in this. We know the Mariners wanted another bullpen arm. Jojo Romero was talked about, but the Mariners already got their extra high leverage lefty. And we talked about Jojo Romero a couple of weeks ago, but I wonder if that's where the Rays come involved. Now, Yandy Diaz also theoretically could be a piece the Mariners are interested at a DH spot, especially if they go and trade a Dom Canzone or a Luke Raley or a Victor Robles in this trade. And we don't know exactly what's in it. And the details are still starting to come out, and we'll probably record up until we get those details so that we can break those down too. But I was planning to record later tonight for an episode tomorrow morning, and we still might do that episode tomorrow morning because there's more stuff to talk about in Mariners land. But Brendan Donovan is a Seattle Mariner, and I am hyped. I am hyped about it. Cardinals fans, Cardinals Twitter been all over my feed over the past couple of days, especially last night. Last night, the buzz really started to pick up, and it felt like, oh, here we go. It felt like it was about to happen. But it's interesting. Give me one sec, y'all. Okay, as I was talking about, I really do feel like it'll be interesting to see what this return is. It'll be interesting to see what all the Mariners got. Like I said, relievers could be a big piece of it. Big piece of this. And I don't want to speculate necessarily. But if I'm going to guess who is involved in this trade, I would assume Durangelo Sanja very likely is gone from Seattle. That's been the most likely piece. Him and / or Las Montes are probably gone. Again, the part that's really funky is the Tampa Bay Rays coming in a three-way deal. And three-way deals are a little bit rare, but they allow two sides that really can't see eye to eye necessarily on how they value each other's prospects to be able to come to a deal. And we can probably see that slightly with this. Now, let's go dive in to who Brendan Donovan is. We're going to open Fangraphs first here. Brendan Donovan, this is going to very likely be the leadoff hitter for your Seattle Mariners. He'll probably be the first batter in 2026 to step in a batter's box for the Seattle Mariners. And this is a guy that is a high average, solid on base, low strikeout guy that is a 115 to 120 WRC plus. Last year, 119 WRC plus, 2024, 115. 2023, 118, 2022, 127. The least amount of games was the 2023 season when he put up a 118 WRC plus, and that was 95 games. Last year, he played 118. The year before, 153. Last year, he hit 287, 353, 422, was worth 3 wins. This is a 3-win player. And the thing that the Mariners love outside of him being a guy that doesn't strike out a lot, a guy that's going to hit for average and bring something to this lineup that really they don't have all that much. The positives with that and why the Mariners like him is those two reasons I just said, but they also love his versatility. This is a guy that has played second base, has played both corner outfield spots, has played shortstop, and has played third base in his career. And for a Mariners team where they want to be able to play a lot of their young guys, Cole Young, Colt Emerson, even Ben Williamson to an extent, this allows for it because he can move around. He's going to very likely play second base a decent amount. It'll be interesting to see how he mixes in with Cole Young, but he's also going to very likely play third base and DH a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if he mixes in a corner. Now, the corner outfield spot's a little bit clogged up for the Mariners, and it'll be interesting to see sort of what happens with this trade because we don't necessarily know what's given up. And it's possible that one of these corner outfield spots is gone. I would not be surprised. But it's quite interesting here, again, just looking at Twitter to try and see what we have. Oh, it sounds like Ben Williamson is going to go to Tampa. That's a really interesting piece. So the Mariners then really feel confident in Donovan being able to play third base. Adam Jude just tweeted. Nothing new there. Just refresh Twitter. Ben Williamson being involved. This means the Mariners feel really confident. Like I said, in Colt Emerson and Brendan Donovan being at third base, I think. I think those are the biggest things that we can notice. Ben Williamson. That's really interesting. You guys are just hearing my brain sort of flood out. I'm trying to see if there's anything new. Looks like that's the only thing. I can't remember where I even saw that now. But we can get back to Brendan Donovan a little bit here. like I said, this is a 3-win player, 115 to 120 WRC plus, hits for high average. He's super versatile, and he'll get on base at a decent amount. He walks about 8-9% of the time, it looks like. Strikes out 13-ish% of the time, somewhere around there, 13 plus or minus 1 or 2%. This is really exciting. You gotta love the Mariners making moves. And it seemed like they were going to make a move. One of the things I was going to talk about later today was the words Jerry Dipoto and the wording he was using to talk about different guys. And you talk about, and you look at what he was saying at Fan Fest. It seemed like this trade was going to get over the line. And it was it Brendan Donovan? Was it someone else he was talking about? It felt like it was Brendan Donovan. We didn't know, obviously, but that's what it felt like. I'm just trying to see if we got anything more here. The issues with Brendan Donovan, though. There are issues. Brandon! And welcome in, Jeff, everybody. Jeff is welcome in. Brendan Donovan's a Mariner.
Everybody.
Yes! Thank you for hopping in, Jeff. Brendan Donovan. He's a Seattle Mariner. And like I said, there are some obvious issues. There are some glaring flaws with Brendan Donovan on top of all the great things that he is going to bring. And there was a reason why St. Louis Cardinals fans loved the guy. They really did. And you could see that they didn't want to trade him. They knew it was what was best for the team, but still, very interesting. It was Bob Nightingale that tweeted about Ben Williamson, it looks like. Adam Jude adding in that the WRC plus that Donovan had last year ranked 5th among second basemen. This is a big, big piece for the Mariners. This is what we needed. And it seemed as though after Luis Arraez signed that Brendan Donovan to Seattle was going to happen. And I see people saying that because the Ben Williamson thing, it seems like the Mariners are going to roll with Colt Emerson. It makes Colt Emerson being on the opening day roster seem a lot more likely. I think we can say that much. But this is really interesting. Brendan Donovan, though. Let's not get sidetracked. Last year, the issue with Brendan Donovan was that he couldn't hit left-handed pitching. Now, Rob Refsnyder, really good at hitting right-handed pitching. We'll see if there's anything else in this trade that affects the Major League roster. But a 75 WRC plus against left-handed pitching last year, struck out 17% of the time, hit 230, 292, 322 with a 614 OPS, ISO under 1, and just a 6.5% walk rate. That's the worry with Brendan Donovan. How is he going to fare against left-handed pitching? Is he truly an everyday player? Those are the questions you're going to ask. But what he did against right-handed pitching is amazing. 140 WRC plus, 853 OPS, slugged 471, just an 11% strikeout rate, a 9% walk rate. It hit over 300 with a 383 on base percentage. 40% above league average as a hitter against right-handed pitching. He had 8 home runs in 108 games. That's 308 at-bats. He had 24 doubles against right-handed pitching. And this is a guy that's going to hit doubles, going to hit singles, and he's going to set the table for your lineup, especially against right-handed pitching. This is 2 years that you're going to get a Brendan Donovan. You're going to get him for 2026. You're going to get him for 2027, should there be a season. And he brings something to the Mariners lineup that is quite unique comparatively to the rest of the lineup. Trying to get Baseball Savant open. Just trying to see what else we got. Still no return here. Sounds like the deal is pending medicals. Unreal. It felt like it might not actually happen just a few weeks ago. But Brendan Donovan is such a unique piece to this Mariners lineup. The average, the low strikeout rate, the doubles, the singles. This is a guy that uses the entire field. It's a left-handed hitter. Likes the right center gap, the left center gap, and the right field line quite a bit. And he has a little bit of pull power, which didn't necessarily play in St. Louis to the greatest extent. In Seattle in 2025, projected to hit 12 home runs. 2024 would have projected to have hit 14 home runs. He hit 10 last year and 14 the year before. And looking at the baseball savant page. Bright red whiff, bright red strikeout, bright red squared upright, bright red launch angle sweet spot percentages, 94th, 96th, 95th, 92nd percentile, and those going backwards. Average walk rate, average hard hit rate, average barrel percentage, average exit velocity for the rest of the league, slightly above average expected slugging, above average xwOBA, slightly below average fielding run value, slightly below average outs above average, arm strength slightly above, sprint speed below, killed fastballs last year, run value of 9 against them, struggled against sinkers, likely due to ground balls, but he hit 360, slugged 537 against four-seam fastballs last year. And over the course of his career, he's actually been better against off-speed pitches, where he struggled a little bit in 2025. So can he put some things together where, okay, I've hit sliders better in the past. I've hit changeups well in my career. I've hit sinkers decently up until this last year. Curveballs I've been able to hit in the past in my career. Can I hit those better than I did in 2025? And can I do what I did against four-seamers again? This isn't a guy that's going to tear the cover off of the baseball. But what he's going to do is get on base, get on first, second base consistently. He's not going to strike out. He's going to put the ball in play. That's the type of stuff that this Mariners team hasn't really had. You think about the Mariners team, how many strikeouts at the top of the lineup. And bringing in Josh Naylor was like a breath of fresh air last year, and they re-sign him. They bring in Brendan Donovan. I think you can see some of the aspects of these two players that they like. And Brendan Donovan has been a leader for the St. Louis Cardinals, apparently in the clubhouse. And it's the type of guy that it sounds like from Cardinals fans and Cardinals writers and stuff like that, that you absolutely want. That you absolutely want in your clubhouse. And those are the type of guys the Mariners love. Not only is this guy a good player on the field, but he's a good guy off the field from the sounds of it. And that adds to this clubhouse, that adds to this lineup, that adds to this team. And you've seen Mariners fans so frustrated over the past couple of days that, oh, we're not a good team, blah, 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 blah. You were already a good team. But this makes you a better team. This puts you above the Astros, I think, fairly handedly in the preseason projections. And it protects against stuff like regression from players. Cal Raleigh's not going to hit 60 home runs again. They needed more, and they've done more. And again, we're still waiting to see what all is in this deal. But it'll be interesting to see. And you wonder, part of the thing the Mariners liked was the versatility of Brendan Donovan. And it'll be really interesting to see what all happens with the makeup of this roster. What do they, when they announce it, what do they list Brendan Donovan as? Is he a utility guy? Is he a second baseman? Is he a third baseman? Is he highly doubted, but a corner outfielder? Where do they list Brendan Donovan being as a player? But this makes the Mariners lineup, it makes the roster, it makes it all better and more balanced. And while there are flaws, and I'm guessing probably tomorrow I'll do a full, proper breakdown of Brendan Donovan, and I'll be able to prep that later tonight and tomorrow morning. we'll be able to do a full breakdown, and we'll hear Jeff's perspective on Thursday. This looks like it'll probably be a 3-episode week. But what this does is make the Mariners a better team. And that's what you had to do at this point. You just needed to make yourself better. And that's what they've gone and done. And we're still just waiting here. I'm still waiting here, recording for details. We still don't know details. But if we want to go look, I want to go look actually at both of these two teams. A guy I've talked about is Andrew Swanson with the Arizona Cardinals. That's a reliever with a ton of control, would have allowed the Mariners to add quite a bit more prospect capital, I think. But you wonder if the Rays might be in, why they're involved here. Is it a reliever? And just looking at the Mariners lineup, Donovan, Julio, Cal, Naylor, Randy now as your 5-hitter. And you have Ref Snyder, Rayleigh, Robles, Canzone mixed in for those next 2 spots. JP Crawford, Cole Young, likely rounding it out. That's a fun lineup. And there's still stuff to do. Of course there is. But this is another piece done. And just over a week, about a week and a half until pitchers and catchers report, you've gotten another piece of business finally done. You started the offseason hot, and you seem to have ended it hot. A lot of mashed potatoes in the middle of who knows what's happening in the middle of it. But you start it well, you end it well, and it seems like you're going to have a pretty solid offseason. And I want to go look here at the Tampa Bay Rays because they have relievers that the Mariners might be interested in. The first name that jumps off the page, obviously, Edwin Uceda, Griffin Jax, Garrett Clevenger, all are guys that you think the Mariners likely would be interested in. All those guys, Ks per 9 over 10. Brian Baker just got traded to Tampa, but could they flip him? It's a possibility, and if they do flip him, Seattle, I'm sure, would be interested there. Griffin Jax. Let's look at Griffin Jax, because how much control does he have? He was traded from Minnesota to Tampa just last year. 3 years of control for Griffin Jax. 35% strikeout rate last year. 44% ground ball rate. This is a really good reliever. He was the setup guy in Minnesota. And is projected to be a setup guy or a co-closer for the Rays this year. Edwin Uceda, also a closer. He, I believe, has more control, which would make him feel like a little bit less likely. Yeah, he has quite a bit more control. He has 4 or 5 years of control, it looks like. But he's another really good reliever, a 32% strikeout rate. Both those last 2 guys also right-handed relievers, which seems like it would fit the Mariners probably better. Another interesting piece of this is Ben Williamson going to Tampa. Where do they see him being utilized? Junior Caminero was their third baseman. Yandy Diaz DHing, Jonathan Aranda. Is he a depth piece? Is he not going to be in the majors for them? It's a possibility. Second base is going to be Gavin Lux. Jonathan Aranda at first base. Their infield is packed full. Is he going to be a bench bat for them? Because at this point, if I'm looking at him, I think he probably needs play time consistently. So is he just going to go to AAA there? Still no return here. But Garrett Clevenger is another guy that the Mariners might be interested in. This is a left-handed reliever, however. Garrett Clevenger, 3.37 ERA, 8 saves last year. Pitched 66 innings from the left side. Actually, 61 and a third innings. Sorry, those were projections. 2.35 ERA for Clevenger. Just the Clevenger ones were projections. 2.35 last year with 61 and a third innings pitched. Over 12 Ks per nine. Just gonna go look at his exact stats. He had a 33% strikeout rate, just a 7.5% walk rate. FIP about 3.5. He's a 3-pitch mix: slider, sinker, four-seamer. Another piece the Mariners might be interested in. But could the Mariners be looking and getting another bat here? Could Yandy Diaz be on the move? And he's DHing for the Mariners. Yandy Diaz, a really, really good player. He's a first base DH player piece. 34 years old now. Getting to the end of his contract. A 130 WRC plus last year, 3 wins. Another guy with a decent average to above average walk rate and low strikeout rate. He had 25 home runs last year, mostly as a DH, struck out just 14% of the time, walked about 9% of the time, hit 300, 366, 482. Could this be another guy the Mariners are interested in? And just trying to see if there's any sort of return here. And it'll be interesting, sort of, another piece of this is to see how these two teams have come to a deal, because they've been in a staring contest for much of this offseason, most, if not all of this offseason. So they haven't been able to come to a deal, and now they have. So what is the thing that evened it out? Is it that the options for the Cardinals to trade him are dwindling, and you keeping him to the deadline doesn't guarantee you're even going to get the same deals you are getting proposed here, let alone better deals? You have no idea. So trading him felt like it had to be done. It did. And they were just trying to wait out and make a team overpay at the point where they really were desperately needing it. And did the Mariners cave? Did they both sort of cave a little bit and they met in the middle? What was it that finally allowed these two teams to come to a point where they could agree on a deal? And the Rays, obviously, I'm sure, played a part in that. And maybe it's that the Rays like some of these Mariners prospects better, and that allows them to send some pieces over to St. Louis, prospects-wise, or even Major League talent-wise, that are controllable, that St. Louis is more interested in. Because we've seen, like I said at the open of this, that these two teams don't tend to agree on how much and how well they value different people. Still no return here. Just trying to see. But let's dig into more Brendan Donovan, because again, it's really going to be interesting to see how these teams have come to an agreement, and we'll see all of that stuff. But Brendan Donovan's a really fun piece for this Mariners team, and I want to go look at him defensively as a player. And let's get his Fangraphs open. Like I said earlier, slightly below average in terms of outs above average last year, but that's overall. That's in all of his positions. Last year, he played 100 games at second base, 18 in left field, 6 at short, and he played 2 games at DH. Gonna go get 2 advanced fielding metrics. He played first base as recently as 2023, second base each of the last 4 years, third base as recently as 2024, where he played 52 and 2/3 innings. Shortstop last year as recently as last year. Left field recently as last year. Right field as recently as 2024. He's a utility guy that's going to crush right-handed pitching. And if we look at how good he is at all these positions, let's look at third base because that's very likely where the Mariners are going to want him most. Put up 0 defensive runs saved in 52 and 2/3 innings. Adam Jude, players in the process of being notified. Ben Williamson expected to be traded to Tampa. As Bob Nightingale said, nothing new there. Come on, Adam. Mariners put up another late offseason trade. Last time they did this, I remember, was Jorge Polanco, if I'm remembering correctly. And we saw how that worked out. He was really good last year. We're not going to talk about 2024. So looking at Donovan at third base, 0 defensive runs saved, 0 outs above average in 2024. 2023, -1 defensive runs saved, 0 outs above average. And in 2022, this is really interesting. He played 189 innings there. That's the most he's played there in his career for a single season. It's actually more than he played in 2024 and 2023 combined. He put up 7 defensive runs saved and 3 outs above average. That's the most he's put up at any one position in his career for any single season. Let's go look at Baseball Savant because it'll be interesting to see how they break down his fielding metrics. In 2022 at third base, like I said, 3 outs above average, 1 coming in, 1 laterally towards third, 1 laterally towards left, or towards first, and 0 going backwards. He's slightly above average, going pretty much every direction that year. If you want to look at 2023, he put up 1 outs above average, laterally towards first, which is good because that is the way that JP Crawford struggles to go. He struggles to go to his right, which would be Donovan's left if he's at third. And looking sort of at other stats, going left, even at second base, has been better for Donovan. And in 2025 at second, he was an above average defender, put up 2 outs above average. He wasn't great coming in, so he's not going to be the guy to charge the ball and make an amazing play. But if he's going left to right, he might be slightly above average. It'll be interesting to see how his arm would play at third base more consistently. He hasn't had over 100 throws from third base in a season. And you don't utilize your arm at second base all that much. You're not using it to the greatest extent. So seeing it at third base would be an interesting piece. And you wonder sort of this offseason, has he been ramping up his arm better to be able to play third base better and more? Because these trade rumors have been going on for so long. And defensively, again, we don't know where he's going to play. We have no idea, but it'll be really interesting to see how he does. And the spring will be a fun indicator to see toward the two. It's a guy that hits left, throws right, just under 6 feet tall. He's 29 years old. And the bat's what you're mostly acquiring here. And he's not the guy that's going to, smash the record in terms of how hard he hits the ball. But he's going to get on base and he's going to do the little things that this Mariners lineup might need. And he's a guy that in some ways is similar to Cole Young. So should Cole Young not be in his trade, which I very highly doubt he is, but should he not be in this trade, you wonder how can Brendan Donovan sort of support him and help him with his development because of how similar players the two guys are. They're both guys that like to put the ball in play. Young has the ceiling for more power theoretically at the major league level. He's been able to hit the ball harder than Donovan has. at this point in his career so far. I'm just still waiting to see if there's any return. And depending on the return and all of that, this offseason has been good for Jerry Dipoto. And I just want to talk about Jerry Dipoto for a second because he receives a lot of flack and hate for how he operates and runs the Mariners. And this is a guy that has brought the Mariners to relevance and into into a competitive window that they haven't seen in 20 plus years. That is not something to take lightly. Has he been able to push them into a World Series team? No. But with the budget he has, that's incredibly difficult to do. He has to toe the line between letting the young guys come up and show and prove themselves and bringing in guys that are proven. And he's brought in guys that are theoretically proven, and then they've struggled. So what Dipoto has done receives flowers. It has to receive flowers to me. He's done some really great things for this organization, for this roster, for this team. That's why they were in Game 7 last year of the American League Championship Series for the first time in the team's existence. The farthest the team has ever made it. And St. Louis fans, sad to see Donovan go because they loved Brendan Donovan. And he's going to be a great, great piece for this Mariners team. And Adam Jude confirmed a little while ago that it sounds like he'll probably lead off due to his on-base percentage, career on base of 361, average walk rate, high average. That's going to get you a pretty good on-base percentage. And that's something that the Mariners need. Career 772 OPS. And this is a guy I've talked about time after time after time for the Seattle Mariners as just an absolutely amazing, fantastic, I don't want to say perfect because there are flaws, but a great fit for this roster. And they've gone and done it. And I hope they didn't give up something super crazy. I'm hoping that there's another piece that they're getting in this. I really feel like there is going to be. Just why I'm trying to hold out. And it's the move, really, that the Mariners, at this point, needed to make. What else was left? I was going to talk about a few guys on today or tomorrow's episode, I guess. But I was like, I don't think it's worth talking about. I didn't feel like it was worth it. So here we are. Here we are. And they finally made the move. And here we go. Here we go. The offseason really is coming to an end. The season is around the corner. FanFest was this last weekend. I will hop on the pod, assuming that we don't get the return literally right now. I will hop on tonight, later tonight, once this return is out, and I am going to talk about Brendan Donovan as a whole. I am going to go into the weeds of Brendan Donovan, who he is, what the Mariners gave up, all of that. And that will be out 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, as always. And then we will be back Thursday after that. So thank you guys so much for listening. This will be out hopefully as soon as I can get it out. It's 2:18 p.m. right now. Hopefully this will be out by 3. I got to get to the gym. So I'm really excited about this. I hopped on to record as quickly as I possibly could. I'm really excited about this. As always, go frickin' M's, y'all. Peace.